Greetings, good day, and salutations. We return to the world of Kenshi, where you can be whatever you dream of, as long as you don't end up dead in the sand. Take up a seat, and we'll resume our tale. A new day rises on the journey of mastery. Gilder sleeps in, while Red finishes up lockpicking training. They stock up on supplies and set out for the return to the hub, home of the weakest bandits this side of the moon. Speaking of bandits, they spot a group of 3 out in the desert, a perfect warm-up for the trek to come. The bandits are handily defeated. Deciding to pass through Stowed for real estate ventures, nothing catches their eye, so they continue on. As they leave, they see a mysterious tower in the distance and decide to head in that direction to check it out. In the midst of a sandstorm, they ambush a hapless slave hunter before taking on the rest. Reinforcements come in the form of starving vagrants, but they too lie face down in the sand. Hopefully the desert got a little safer this day. Later that night, Gilder's path is cut off by a skimmer who took great offense to his legs and proceeded to try and gnaw them off. Luckily, Gilder kept his legs attached, but he is too slow to continue, so Ruka takes him on her back. Later still, they pass by a trader caravan to lighten up their packs, but alas, the caravan is only selling. While they cross the Spine Valley, they are ambushed by blood raiders, who take down Ruka and loot the food from her and Gilder's unconscious bodies. Red and Izumi can only watch before rushing to administer aid. After bandaging them up, Red and Izumi take their wounded comrades over their shoulders and away to a place they can make camp. All the while, the deadly beauty of the world threatens to claim another victim. As they set up camp outside the tower, they learn to be Tengu's Vault. A bloody battle between the Holy Nation and United Cities unfolds. Eventually, the Holy Nation's forces are depleted until the last man declares a duel as a last-ditch effort, but he too is slain. Ever the opportunists, Red and Izumi pick through the defeated warriors until told to clear off by the guards of the tower. A good haul, all things considered. They then stand guard for any threats to their recuperating allies. Unfortunately, they cannot raid the tower for ancient loot, so they can only stare at its foreboding form, locking away forbidden treasures. Dodging skimmers all the while. Late into the night, Gilder and Ruka fully recover. They pack up and continue on. Feeling bold, they assist some travelers with a skimmer they were fighting, and despite some heavy hits, take it out, a sign of their growing skill. Close to Akron's shield, they take a mountain pass around it, and engage in a land speed race with a skimmer, circumventing their largest obstacle. Now in Holy Nation territory, they have to be extremely vigilant for any who would spot them, else they would be captured or ambushed by absurdly large packs of hungry bandits. But there's always time to loot abandoned mines. Close to Bad Teeth, the group is spotted, and while the director is distracted, they try to path into the city and attract the ire of the guards as well. A desperate escape ensues, where Ruka is the primary target for the grave sin of existing near the Holy Nation. Eventually they take her down, and a futile effort to get her out of there unfolds. Eventually, Red is the last one conscious as she crawls to aid her friends, but eventually a passing Holy Nation servant knocks her out cold. Things could have gone well as they had a chance to wake up, but that hope is crushed as they are captured by a wandering group of slave traders. Red is left to watch as the other 3 are carried away. She resolves to heal herself up and break her comrades free. Eventually, Ruka is locked up in Bad Teeth, while Gilder and Izumi are taken further away. Whereupon, Gilder breaks free of his captor's grasp and uses the good fortune to tail them. Meanwhile, Ruka has broken free as well and searches for anything she can use. On her way out, she's spotted, and just as she makes it out the gate, a stomach shot seals her fate and she is captured once more, with a one-way trip to Rebirth planned by the Holy Nation. Gilder finally gets spotted by his quarry, and he has to sprint away, but not before the captors drop Izumi to get to him. She slinks off to try and break off her shackles, while Gilder strips down to speed up, luring away anyone who would try to harm her. Unfortunately, she's spotted by a passing patrol, where she's knocked out close to the same time Gilder is. Gilder quickly wakes up as Ruka continues her march. As Gilder rushes to aid Izumi, he's intercepted by a pack of hungry bandits and has to change his tactics. Luckily, someone is giving Izumi treatment. Unluckily, it's someone who means to capture her. Gilder then lures his pursuers into Izumi's would-be kidnapper. Red finally wakes up, grabs supplies, and rushes to find her colleagues. Gilder tries to swipe the Holy Sentinel's sword, thus eliminating a major threat, but is swiftly concussed for his trouble. Gilder wakes up again, and carries Izumi to safety, where Red is spotted and bringing trouble their way. Ruka continues to get further away as Red and Gilder fight to keep Izumi safe. They are defeated, and as they lay unconscious, Ruka crosses the threshold into Rebirth, a fortress of a camp, where her escape has become significantly harder. Izumi is the first to wake up, and uses her medic training to treat the wounded, aka all of them. Ruka, on the other hand, is checked into Rebirth, where the Abyss speaks to her. The party makes it their goal to save Ruka as they unload their backpacks back at the hub and prepare to raid Rebirth. Ruka finishes up another workday as Red begins a diversion to draw away the gate guard, where Gilder speeds on in search of Ruka. He finds her worse for wear, but still kicking, and with her backpack untouched. He deftly breaks her out of the cage, and they sneak down the stairs, but are immediately spotted exiting the door. Desperately, Gilder holds off the guard so that Ruka can gain some distance. At the gate, Gilder rushes to carry her out so that he'll take the brunt of the hits, where Red draws away the other guards once more to secure passage. Red loses the guards and Izumi bandages up Gilder and Ruka. A successful jailbreak. After some minor roadblocks, they make it back to the hub where they begin plans to search for the legendary warrior who resides in Mongrel. After some strength training, they set out for Squin. They have plans to raise enough capital for a small base of operations, and to help with the region's bandit problem in the process. After some saving up, they manage to purchase a bit of a fixer-upper, and begin their move to their new home. They get a new building shell built, and plonk down a research bench and weaponsmithy. But due to spending most of their money on a house, they are kinda broke, so to save money, roadkill is on the menu. After cooking up their hunt, they have the supplies they need for their visit to Mongrel. They pass through Vane without any stray beak things making them lunch, and make it to the Fog Islands, home of the Fogmen, who lurk in the mists, hunting and ritualistically eating whoever they capture. It's just outside of Mongrel where the group is ambushed by these Fogmen, and they make a mad dash to the gates, where with the guards' assistance they hold off the horde. Here they find the legend they were looking for. He calls himself Beep, and due to his immense strength, his stats have caused an integer overflow back to starter stats. But his reascendance is all but certain. They also find another warrior of renown, Crumblejohn, a retired samurai who was wasting away his days with drinking until a rousing set of questions breaks him down and he gladly joins the party. Seeing potential in Beep, he bequeaths his rusted giant blade unto the legend. They also spot a mercenary of strange countenance and nom de guerre, Infinite Wing-Wong, which they can't quite afford. But the director's computer couldn't handle the power of Beep, so the game crashed in self-preservation. Having been dragged back in time, they quickly re-recruit Crumblejohn and Beep and set about gearing them up, where Gilder spots a beautiful Nodachi and weeps a little at the price tag. Beep and Crumblejohn begin doing an endurance run to regain their lost speed so they aren't caught lacking by the Fogmen outside the walls, while the rest strip copper to pass the time. Needing someone to master hacker class weapons, and curious, Gilder speaks to Shrike, a reserved woman who is terrified of escaping the Fog Islands, but once out, Gilder offers her safe passage, and apprehensively, she joins the cause. Stripping copper has also given Gilder enough money to haggle down Infinite Wing-Wong, a decent saber wielder of a mercenary. The two of them join Crumblejohn and Beep in their speed training. Eventually, the director's computer succumbs to Beep's presence and crashes entirely. Luckily, time didn't slip too far back, and the journey continues. Having filled their ranks, they head back home where they pass a fog-heavy patrol, a Fogman death yard, and a hungry beak thing. The 8 masters have finally been assembled. Beep begins his strength training to be able to wield heavier swords and eventually a fabled falling sun. Meanwhile, the main force gets absolutely laid flat by a small group of hungry bandits. After some resting, they continue their bandit hunt, taking out as many as they can, slowly growing stronger in the process. It's during their training exercises that they take down a small group of Garu as a test of their abilities, and after a grueling battle they are ambushed by hungry bandits who beat the entire party into submission outside of the hub. Red, being the last one standing, proceeds to provide first aid to the group,
where she accidentally puts Shrike on an invisible bounce spring and she hurtles into the sky, unharmed but frustratingly, on top of a cliff. They return to town worse for wear, but immediately after fully healing up, start antagonizing a dust bandit camp on the outskirts of the hub. But their training is slowing to a crawl. They need to take more extreme measures to get better gains. But before they can finish preparing, Gilder accidentally blows off the customs officer and receives a bounty that forces him and the party out of town until things blow over. They take on any challengers along their way to the United Cities in the northeast. Making it to Heft, they look for a small home to serve as a forward base, but Gilder has gotten a taste of crime and decides he wants to preview the home by lockpicking the door in full view of a guard. So with another bounty under his belt, the masters have to camp out in the sands until that one blows over. Luckily, there's some training to be had out in the desert, so time isn't fully wasted. Once the guard laxes, Gilder gets to crafting katanas, so they can accomplish what they set out for, acquiring high-quality samurai armor. And with that, extreme training is ready to begin.